Hey y'all, my name is Joe, and today I'm going to be talking about SurgiCount Plus and show you how to operate it. So first, looking at the stand overall, we have our Apple iPad where our software is going to be operating from. We have our reader where you're going to be counting in and counting out sponges, and then you can actually undock this reader to locate for sponges as well. We have our power box on the bottom here, and then up top we have our sponge bag arms that can be folded in or out based on preference. And then here is a compartment for your sponge bags. And then at the very top, this silver box is for sterile reader covers. So when you need to locate using the reader in the sterile field, you have covers for that as well. Now let's look at the back. So the back here, you have your 10-foot long power cord. So the system can be unplugged if you need to wheel this into the room to count in sponges in a better place, but we do recommend keeping it plugged in as much as possible. And then at the very top here, this is the compartment for your sponge bags. All you need to do is take the box and place it up top. And then before I start a case, I just want to show you the difference between our two sponges. So with this new generation of sponges, we have an RFID tag heat pressed on the corner of each sponge. And what this means is that we can now uniquely identify our sponges. Previously, we used to have this barcode on the band, and you used to have to keep the barcode band once you broke it. Now, you no longer need to keep the barcode. There's no longer a barcode on the band. All you need to do is just break the sponges and use them as you would in your case, as usual. So because these are uniquely identified, that means that we can locate them individually, and then our system actually knows which sponges came from which packs. So I'll go ahead and show you how to operate the system. So first, we need to input some information. So the first thing is going to be the circulator ID. All I need to do is press into this bounding box, and a camera is actually going to pull up. The camera is going to be right down here at the bottom. So now you can either scan your SurgiCount badge or your hospital badge. So I'm just going to scan that barcode. Now if I wanted to, I can also come up here and press this keyboard button and type in a number as well. I'm going to do the same for the patient ID. So whether it's a patient sticker, I can scan this as well with that camera right at the bottom. If not, I can actually come up here, type in the box, an MRN number as well. And then I need to select which service and then which room. Now something to note for the patient ID is that I can actually also undock this reader and I can scan a patient's wristband. All I need to do to undock the reader is just pull straight out. No buttons needed to press. So once we've given all the fields the information, I'm ready to start a case. I'm going to press this button and now it's ready to start counting in sponges. So the reader is turned on. And so the best way to count in sponges is to take the pack and you're going to wave it in front of the reader 12 to 18 inches to maintain sterility. Now, the reader needs to look for all RFID tags. So what we recommend, best practice, is to wave it in front of the reader and turn your wrist so that way all sponges are seen by the reader. Now, once I've counted in my sponges, I'm going to break the band, which I don't have to keep, and then perform a manual count as usual. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Confirm that your manual count matches what's on the screen. You can see it's actually going to give you a breakdown of exactly how many sponges you counted in and what type as well. Now, when you're done counting in sponges, press the count in button. This is going to gray out the buttons, and what this means is it's now going to be in standby or idle mode. And what that means is no sponges can be counted in or counted out. The reader is turned off. Now, if you want to still count in more sponges, you do have some other options. Now, you can actually undock this reader and you can pull the trigger and count in sponges, whether that's from a table or somewhere else in the room if you're not able to count in sponges physically at the station. Note, you can only count in sponges with the reader undocked. You cannot count out sponges with the reader undocked. So I can either count in sponges using the reader or it's going to be docked. The last option is we can also count in sponges through sterile packaging. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to wave the pack of sponges in front of the reader, give it a turn of the wrist. That way all RFID tags are seen by the reader, and confirm that those sponges were counted in. Now, when I'm ready to count out my sponges, all I need to do is navigate to the count out mode. And so I'm gonna take each sponge one by one. You can only count one sponge at a time. And I'm gonna wave it in front of the reader 0 to 6 inches. Now note, when you're counting in and counting out sponges, all you need to do is place the RFID tag at the front of this reader. You can see there's a little symbol here, so you don't have to go underneath or you don't have to go up top, but we're only looking for right in front. So the best practice is to try to get that RFID tag as close as you can to that reader. So I try to find it, whether you're pulling it from a kick bucket or wherever, and make sure that that RFID tag is present to that reader. Now once that's done, I'm gonna bag my sponge appropriately, one by one. And count out sponges. Now, you can see that as I'm going throughout my case, it's gonna give me a breakdown of how many sponges are still left in the field. And if I wanted to, I can actually navigate back to the count in mode. So I can go to the count out, count in, so whatever you need for your case. Now again, we recommend that you pull out sponges from the kick bucket or where they're at and count them out throughout the case. And then when you're done counting out at that moment, to also press the count out button and go back into standby mode. So again, that means nothing's gonna be counted out until I press that button. So it's gonna illuminate red and let me know that we're back on count out mode. Now, if I try to count out the sponge again, it's actually gonna let me know that it's a duplicate. It's already been counted out, so you cannot count it out twice. So I'm gonna keep going through my pack. Now note, if you for some reason are in the instance where you are unable to count in sponges before a case, you know something happened, the best thing that you can do is use what we call the trauma mode. So I'm gonna take one of these sponges, let's say it was out on the field, and I'm gonna try to count out. What this means is that we are counting out a sponge that was not seen beforehand. It was not counted in. So when I count out this sponge, try to present that RFID tag, it's gonna let me know that it was an unknown. So all I need to do is hit OK, and I'm gonna let the system know why it's an unknown. So today I'm gonna type in trauma. So for those trauma cases where you need sponges on the field and they weren't able to be counted in beforehand, this is your way to still make sure that your count is correct. So now that sponge was counted out, I can bag it appropriately, and the rest of those sponges from that pack are also counted in. So then I can do the same and wave it in front of the reader and count out those sponges. Now, when it's time to locate a sponge, the best practice is to make sure that all sponges are counted out that you're not looking for. So you can see here that we only have one sponge remaining in the field, and that's the one that we're gonna look for. So I'm gonna press this find button in the top left. All you need to do is then undock this reader, and I'm gonna pull the trigger. And so I'm gonna hold the trigger down, and you can see that I'm gonna get an audible and visual notification on where that sponge is. So it's gonna be approximately 8 feet that's gonna start detecting that sponge. So if I try to look for a sponge that was already counted out, you can see that nothing's gonna happen. We're only searching for that one specific sponge. So as I wave it in front of the trash or drapes, the most common sites, I'm then gonna start looking and looking, and it's gonna start lighting up green, and it's gonna let me know that you found the sponge. Now, the reader has not counted out the sponge, and we do that for the safety of the patient and the staff to make sure that all sponges are brought off the sterile field. Now I'm gonna dock that reader back into place, and then I'm gonna take that final sponge and count it out. In the event that for some reason the tag is not reading when you're trying to count out the sponge, we do have an option to override the tag. So all I need to do is come up here to the top right corner. I'm gonna press the menu icon. I'm gonna press it once and our settings are gonna pull up. All you need to do is press the override unreadable tag option. Now it's just gonna let me know, don't override it unless it's really not readable. I'm gonna hit OK, and now it's gonna pull up the sponges that are counted in right now. Now, due to the RFID tag, you can see that each sponge has a unique code on there. So all I need to do is actually match the code with the one I want to count out. So we can see here the last 4 digits are 35K3. I'm going to press this button, It's gonna let me know, do you want to count out this sponge? I'm gonna say yes. And then I'm just gonna type in a reason. So for today, I'll just type in unreadable. Now it's actually gonna count out that sponge. I'm gonna say back to counting, and I can go back as usual. Now, in the event that you're also wanting to do a wound pack, do not count out the sponges that you're wound packing. So let's say this is the one that I wanna keep. I'm gonna hit end case. So one sponge is still remaining, that's not counted out, and that's this one. I'm gonna say end case, and then it's gonna tell me to select a reason why. So I'm gonna select that wound pack option. So it's gonna let me know that everything else was counted out except those sponges that were wound packed. I'm gonna hit next, and then I'm actually gonna scan that circulator ID, or I can then type in the exact number, either or. I'm gonna hit end case, and all that data will be saved to the URT.